everyone. Welcome back to The Interviews. I'm Dan Hansen, and today I'm sitting down with somebody who's taken a passion project and she's turned it into a full-time career. Patty Brummel from Midlife Revival is a furniture refinisher, an avid Instagrammer, and a lifelong learner when it comes to home improvement projects. We're going to dive into her journey, how she got started, how she tackles big projects, and all of those things. So if you've ever been intimidated, to pick up a brush or maybe refinish a piece of furniture or even paint a room, if any of that stuff has ever intimidated you or slowed you down, this is the conversation for you. Now, before we dive in, if you enjoy this kind of content, please give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, that'd be great, and then hit that little notification bell so you don't miss out on interviews like this one. And if you want to share your thoughts or experiences, drop a comment below. I'd love to hear from you. All right, let's get into the interview with Patty Brummel. I guess let's just jump in with, you spent years, from what I'm, from the notes you sent me, as a registered nurse. Mm-hmm. And I'm curious, how in the world did you get from, I'm a registered nurse to now I'm refinishing furniture as a business, right?
Yeah.
How'd that all happen?
Some days I don't know how it happened, but Lord willing, it just kept growing.
Yeah.
It's definitely been a journey, but I would say just to get down to making it short and sweet, back in 2012, so a little over 12 years ago, I should back it up. I'm married and I have 3 daughters. So the 2 daughters back in 2012 are twins, and they were just graduated from college and they were setting up their own.
They go to the same college?
Yes, they did. Yeah.
All right. So they've been together forever.
They were.
As long as they know. Yeah.
They were until their careers took them to different states.
Oh, wow. How
yes.
was that? I mean, we're already derailed, but
I know.
Was that complicated? I mean, that had to be something, right?
It was. The one that, they're both in teaching. And so, and then the other thing to clinch it was they are both music teachers. Well, one's an orchestra teacher, one is general music. Mm-hmm. Well, the orchestra teacher had problems, finding something around here. So it took her to North Carolina.
Oh, my
And
goodness.
she's been there for 10 years.
It's a little bit of a bumpy.
Yeah.
And so they've been together. I've got twins.
Yeah. Do you?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, a boy and a girl. First kids we had were twins.
Oh, same with us then.
Yeah. Well, you learn really fast.
Oh, you do. I think it's a piece of cake when you have one.
It was. By the time we had the second one, it's like, oh my gosh, I know how to do this.
Yeah.
Put the channel on this. And
yeah, exactly.
Raise them right there.
Exactly.
Yeah, but and mine are a boy and a girl, and they've always been close, but they haven't been, because they're a boy and a girl,
Mm-hmm.
so there's slightly,
they say that's
different
a little
interests.
different.
I'm curious how that, that had to be a little bit complicated.
Yeah. Well, we didn't know that they were identical until they turned.
So they are identical.
They are. We found out, when they were born, it was very expensive. And you know how it is just having one and then you have 2. So it's like, that is not something we need to know right now is the genetics of them, if they're identical or fraternal. But come to find out over many years that people can just do a little swab and find out if they're identical or fraternal. So on their 30th birthday, they decided they would do that. And they did find out they were identical, which
so
as
you
a mom,
didn't know?
no,
So
not
it's not
for
like the
sure.
movies. That's kind of a bummer.
No, for sure. We did not know for sure. And I won't go into all of that because that's
really funny.
Yeah.
That's really funny.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
but I knew, I could tell.
I knew they weren't identical.
Yeah, of course.
I could tell as well. I was pretty good at that. One of the funny things, when we found out we were having twins, we had 2 sets of twins, actually. Our first
really?
and our last. But the last set of twins, we lost a daughter. So that's the sad thing.
Yeah.
But it was a long time ago. And, I don't bring it up for that reason. But I think on that one I think that's the time where they showed us. No, it was the first one. It was the first set, Caleb and Maddie, because I was brand new at it. We go to the ultrasound.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't know what I'm looking at, but I'm cool because I'm here and I'm doing my thing.
Yeah.
And they show us, and the doctor says, yeah, that's what I thought. And I said, oh, what? He says, 2 heads. Oh, my gosh, 2 heads. 2 heads. And he says, yep, 2 heads. And I just almost passed out.
Yeah.
I said, Dan,
Sounds like my
there's
husband.
2 bodies, too. Okay.
Yeah.
I thought he meant.
Yeah. So
he had
you went into it
whole
totally not
different
knowing
direction.
either.
Yeah.
Because we had the same thing. I had just been so sick. like the pukey
Yeah,
thick.
yeah.
And around 13 weeks, my doctor said, let's just do an ultrasound earlier than we normally do.
Suspect.
More because he was wondering if there was something else going on, gallbladder, something. The tech immediately says, oh, well, I know why you've been so sick. And we're like, why? What?
Oh, but they can't tell you, or did they?
Oh,
tell you?
she
did.
eventually did, but at first we're like, why? What's wrong? And then she goes, oh, it's twins. And my husband, of course, cha-ching, cha-ching, thinking, what? Yeah. And even when I called like my mom, she didn't believe it. She was at work. I'm like, Mom, it's twins. She's like, no, no.
Really?
I don't know if no
right?
in a bad way or what, but
No, but
no.
we had the same reactions.
Yeah,
But it was a ton of fun. I mean,
yeah. Oh, it
was.
was.
A huge
It's been a
learning
blessing.
curve.
Definitely.
But once you got over it,
Yeah. Yeah. And actually, I think God blesses you with good kids sometimes when you have multiples, because I think our single after that was more challenging than our singles were.
wow, I didn't mean to completely derail
No,
us, but-
that's
so you've
fine.
got twins.
So yeah, they're
they're
twins. They graduated from college in 2012. And of course, I always say they got their big girl jobs and were moving out of the house and into their own places. And at that point, it was like, furnishing, let's, use hand-me-downs from the family. Let's go looking around thrift stores, antique stores. And so that's what we did. And it was fall of 2012. I can still remember. And we went to just a small little place in downtown Zeeland. And at that time, I don't know if you remember this. I mean, you're in the paint industry, but chalk paint was really becoming a very popular thing for refinishing furniture and stuff like that. That was short-lived for me as far as the chalk paint. But it made me think, because the girls would say, can you do something with this, Mom, so it doesn't look like, this? Yeah. So I took a class. This place, there was a vendor that was selling this chalk paint, and she was going to have a class coming really up close. So I took it and just learned some basics. And from there, I just started, refinishing like an end table for them, or just trying to think. There was a little desk or coffee table, those kind of things. And I look back at those things and I cringe at the look of them. Yes.
Okay, so they still have them? So you can still see
Well,
them?
not all of them. Okay. Some of them I updated later as I got better.
Yeah.
The thing with chalk paint, if you've ever used it, is it doesn't have a really nice finish. It has a bumpiness.
Yeah.
And back then it was promoting, oh, you don't need to sand, you don't need to prime, all these things. So of course, like someone had maybe painted this piece they found. My daughters had found, and so I don't need to sand it. I don't, I'll just paint right over that, not knowing that whatever texture was already there was going to be what I was going to.
So you ended up with all of that.
No, yes.
We don't carry it. We're not a big fan
No,
of it.
No. And I have totally gone away from that. Boy, that furniture industry, though, really just started to, the painting industry and the people refinishing just kept coming out with new and improved paints. And there did become a point where, yes, you need primer, you need to love, there is self-leveling and stuff like that, and it's definitely grown. But now I'm kind of to the point where I don't like to be limited by the colors of just those paint lines, and that's where I frequent, RepcoLite, and I love some of the Benjamin Moore products that can be used for furniture as well. Yeah. But so back to the story, that's how it started.
So you're helping them because you're trying to help them save some money.
Yep. And then
how did they go from that to?
Well, then it was like, I maybe do some things around my house. And then it was a couple years later, my kids were like, I never was like on Facebook or anything. And they were like, Mom, you really should start showing some of this stuff. So they helped me set up a Facebook page.
So you were doing it more than just for yourself a little bit here and there, or?
Yeah, I still was just that. It was just a hobby. It was in my garage. I liked it. And it was because of being a registered nurse it was just therapeutic just to be able to go dabble in something. And even to this day, I don't feel like it's work when I work on my furniture.
Okay.
And so that was what was just so good about it, was that it was something so different. And I could just...
Why was it therapeutic, do you think? I mean, is it just
Well,
you can kind of
just
check out, you can
because
focus on just
as
this
a
one-
nurse, it's just very stressful, and to me, that's real work, My last job that I ended up leaving to do this full time was working in a doctor's office. So it was more like phone triage, and you get a lot of unhappy people who call in sometimes, and it definitely takes a toll on you. So, that's how it started. And then it just, once I started the Facebook page and, people started to see it, and some of my coworkers were like, would you ever think about doing something for me? I have something. And so that's how it evolved into what it is today, is just word of mouth and stuff like that. And it's gone much further than that, but
that's really, really cool.
Yeah.
So how much did you know about it? I mean, when you started with your daughters, I mean, you kind of said some of that. It was new to you. You hadn't done a lot of it.
Yep.
So you jumped in, and how comfortable were you with things like that?
Probably not real comfortable. I mean, I had painted
Like at your home?
piece or so, and I definitely had painted walls.
Okay,
Yeah. But back then, I mean, I don't even know when like YouTube and Google really came on as a thing, but then you didn't go and Google or YouTube how to do this like you can nowadays. So it was a lot of just trial and error. And then when I eventually took my Facebook page and decided I would also do an Instagram page, that is where the world just opened up to me to
With
know there were
Instagram.
that there were so many other furniture refinishers out there. I mean, not to the point there are today. It's just crazy. A lot of people, it seems like, came onto it when they were hunkered down during COVID.
Oh, yeah, COVID.
But
Everybody's favorite
for some of
thing.
us, but for some of us, the OGs, we've been doing this longer than that, and it wasn't just a COVID thing. But anyways, that just opened up for me to see other people, because on Facebook, I don't think you learn that way, that there's a lot of other furniture refinisher. I don't know why it all of a sudden this door opened, and
So you're interacting with people who do what you do on Facebook. You're interacting with people who are
pretty much just followers. People that a lot of my past clients and stuff, that's where they are.
So things really opened up.
Oh yeah, and that opened up doors to different paint companies that focused on the furniture type of paint. And I was a brand ambassador for a paint company for a couple of years. And just different brush companies and just...
Wow, very cool.
Yeah.
We interact or connected with you over Instagram as well. I think that's the same thing.
Yep.
So you did a project, I'm sure.
Yeah, and I think the thing is that tagging, like you guys, RepcoLite, and Benjamin Moore, because those are the products I was using, has built up these different relationships that I never imagined would happen. And it's just opened
on
a lot
of
doors.
Stuff. I appreciated it.
Yeah.
It was very nice to see.
Yeah.
So you're doing this. So you decide you're going to quit being a nurse.
Yeah.
And go into that. Was that a scary...
It was very scary.
Big leap?
I had to convince my husband, first of all.
Well, that's what I was curious about. How did... Because you were talking about he was doing the ka-ching, ka-ching with the twins.
Back in the twins.
I'm assuming he's going to do a ka-ching, ka-ching with this too.
I know. Well... I mean, try to go short here, but just him seeing how passionate I was about what I was doing. And it was just getting to the point where I had a little booth I was renting in Hudsonville. So I was trying to keep that stocked with small home decor and some of my painted furniture, using that as an avenue for advertising if someone came in, which it did help. I had business cards there, and they could, just grab one of those, and I got contacts through that. And then,
And this is still furniture refinishing, largely.
Yeah. But I'm still working as a nurse in phone triage, and then I've got some custom work on the side. So I was feeling very pulled with these 3 different things, plus being a mom and a wife and all that. So he saw how passionate again I was about it, and it wasn't like it was just this little flighty hobby for just a little bit. And he could see that I could make money off of this. So yeah, I basically put my notice in early 2017. They had to find a replacement for me. And I said, you know what, I'll stay on until you find someone, which ended up being about 6-7 months before they found someone. Yeah, because then you have to train the person. And so right at the end of 2017, I hung up my stethoscope, as I say. And
how do you feel about all of that? Is that the right decision?
It was scary, but I have no regrets. It has just been a wonderful ride so far.
I'm glad,
definitely
honestly,
up and down, but I appreciate my husband letting me do it. And I couldn't do it if it weren't for him, letting me let go. But it's, like I said, it has just opened so many doors, and it's just been a fun journey. And again, I was like approaching the 50-year mark at that time, and thus the name for my company. I named it Midlife Revival because it was my midlife. I think it's really midlife at 50. Some people say 40, I heard the other day, but...
I thought it was 24.
Oh, no.
I'm way past normal life.
So, and then, reviving myself, by doing something different in life and not feeling like I always had to be a nurse. And, as the kids got older, they don't need you as much. And so kind of just finding something to occupy my time when they were out of the house. And then I like to take that midlife revival and also bring it to my furniture. And, they've lived, they lived one life just like me, and now they're going to live another life, and they're being revived. So it's a twofold reason I picked that name.
No, it's a great name.
Thank you.
Challenges you overcame, things like that. I mean, as you're making this shift, is there anything that was a real big bump and you kind of thought, oh man, I don't know, it's going to be tough?
I think it was more just as I started doing more and more furniture, is just space. That was difficult because...
Yeah, where were you working when this was happening?
I was just working out of my garage, my cold garage. Yeah. And so it was kind of a seasonal thing. Or if I had a small piece for a client, I would agree to do it in the wintertime in the house. But that wasn't... there are furniture refinishers that work out of their house all the time, full time, and I don't know how they do. It would drive me nuts. It would drive my husband nuts.
Well, why? I mean, I can think of several reasons, but I'm curious.
Unless you had a separate room, your stuff is just out all the time.
Is it stinky? Are you
no.
So you're not using stinky stuff.
Well, unless you do bin shellac, which I do use a lot of that. So yeah.
Yeah, because that can be really crazy.
Yeah. So
things are different now. I did a fair amount of furniture refinishing, long time ago, right around the time I started at RepcoLite, so 20-some years ago. Mm-hmm. And it was all the really stinky, strippers and stuff like that. Yeah. And oh my goodness, I learned very quickly. I did one thing in my basement, and we had a gas dryer. And so the fumes got in the air. But then when we ran the dryer, we did a number of loads. It burned all the fumes. And so all the clothes came out with this kerosene smell. No. So we had to rewash everything. I learned that lesson.
No.
I still remember that lesson.
I never did stripping furniture, in the house.
You got to come up with another name for that.
I know, I never liked that.
Paint remover, varnish remover.
Yeah.
No, I know.
Yeah, no. But that was the thing about also those paints when they came out, is that they were very environmentally safe. Like you could use them around your children and stuff like that. Like your child could even eat it, they said, the chalk paint, if you want. It's like them eating dirt or something. But anyways, yeah, so that's probably
The biggest
one
thing
of
was
the
the space.
yeah, I would.
That.
Yeah, one of them. Yeah, I would say. I don't know, challenges. I mean, financially, I would loved a lot more equipment and stuff, but that just came with growth and stuff, and
Yeah, because you're starting, you got to make do with what you've got.
right,
You
exactly.
can't really invest huge.
Yeah. I even started with very cheap paintbrushes, which I learned very quickly is not a good thing.
No, it's one of those things. It's hard to get people to understand that or
Yeah.
buy in. It always feels like just a sales pitch, but it really does. Roller covers, all of those.
Yeah.
Anything that applies your paint.
Yeah.
If you cheap out on that, it doesn't matter a lot of the times how quality the paint is. That can really be affected.
Yeah. So I would think those are a couple.
Those are some of the biggest things.
Yeah, and I think the thing is when you, I mean, I am a very small business, but when you own your own business or whatever, it becomes like your other baby, and it's like.
Did you like this baby better than your other ones? Or
No
favorites.
No,
All right,
no.
that's good. That's right.
I would say though that it's like it's hard to turn it off, especially when you start using social media to help promote your business. And it becomes very hard to shut off. Everything becomes content.
How do you feel about that? Does it drive you nuts sometimes?
Well, it's starting to drive me nuts for the fact that I feel like it's not getting seen. So our time that we're putting into our content, I'm sure you can maybe relate. I don't know. It's just that you just feel like I don't think people realize how much time it takes to record all this content. Because like if I just kept focusing on a piece of furniture and didn't record and all that, I probably could get a lot more done. Mm-hmm. But
no, it's
I don't know.
It's really staggering when you do it. I mean, because yes, you're tackling a project. I've got something I'm trying to do in my living room. Just a horrible situation with some paint that was previously painted on some plaster decorative moldings around the top of the. The ceiling
yeah, I heard you talking about that.
I'm still dealing with it.
You are, because
I cannot come up with a
someone
way.
had painted it before improperly or whatever.
Right. I don't know exactly what they did, but the paint's not sticking. So I can sand it and scrape it, and I got all of it off that would come off. Mm-hmm. Good. So I'm going to prime it next weekend. Well, I didn't because I got busy. Like 3 weekends later, I'm looking, I think it's peeling in new spots now, and it is. So I'm glad I didn't prime it because it's even the stuff that I sanded over.
I know.
So now I'm trying to get that off, and I've come up with a brilliant.
You have?
Absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
The reason we found it is because my daughter she was teaching, like pretend teaching, and she had all these sticky Post-it note, like huge tablet pages of paper that they would use in elementary school. And she would write all kinds of things on there, get a little ladder out, a little step stool, and then she'd post them all over our living room wall. Well, she posted some on this strip, and when she pulled it off, it pulled the paint off.
Shoot, yeah.
So that hit me about a week and a half ago. What about something sticky? So then I brought some tape home, and that pulls it off. I can put it on. So then I went online and I bought 4-inch wide duct tape. So I'm going around the whole room with the duct tape, the ceiling, and then when I rip it off, I'm getting 90% of it off.
Well, that's great.
So I'll be
good
able to
thing.
fix
Duct
it.
tape is good for a lot of things. Isn't
Blah, blah, that's my story. But my
Yeah.
point is, I keep thinking, I don't know exactly that this is great content, but it's a problem, and I would like to film it. But I just want to do the job.
Yeah.
I don't want to set up a camera, position this, do this.
Yeah.
It is so monumental.
It is.
To do all of that, and
It
I
is.
forget to. I mean, do you ever have that? You do
Oh,
something, you think, why
Yeah.
didn't I shoot that?
Well, I didn't go into this to be a content creator, which is what, that's apparently a whole nother job, but I just I've always loved teaching, educating. I mean, it goes back to nursing. You're a teacher to your patients, and as a parent, you're educating, teaching your kids, and it's just always been a thing I've enjoyed, and I enjoy sharing. And so,
was it weird to get over the video part of it? Video in your face, a camera in your face?
Probably, yeah. I think it was more just talking to a camera for stories. If I'm doing something and it's there, it's
Then
not
it's
a
no
big
big
deal. No, no. But it's the time of editing it and, which I'm not a big editor, so I'm still learning all that. But I love sharing it. So I'll continue to do it, because, like I said, every little thing has led to something else.
Yeah.
And if I just stop.
No, I get it. I mean, it's cool when you get something captured and now it's there and people.
Yeah. Well, and the other
latch
thing is,
onto
I
it.
just, with this whole house renovation we've been doing for our daughter, just to look back and see how far we've come. If I didn't have all that video, because there are days, weeks, that we look at and we go, why are we still here at this point? Or have we accomplished anything, But if we hadn't had all that to look back and go, wow, we have come a long way.
No, I know. We've talked about that on the show, not necessarily. In fact, it wasn't for Instagram content production, but the idea was exactly that. Film, take photos of what you're working on, because there always is that day where you feel like, what am I done? Or this is my problem. I finish a room and I like it. And then a year later, I don't realize. It's really fun to go back and realize what you had and see
It's just
the
like
power
with your
of what you
kids
did.
growing up. You look back at them as little and all the different milestones. And it's the same way with my furniture and my projects. And it's just become,
No, that's
kind
really
of
cool.
normal. But it is time consuming. I don't think
So
people
time-
really realize
And then
how
the
much.
comments, and then you need to try to reply and respond. It's a job.
Or people are just like they say crickets. They don't do anything, and it's like, really?
I know, that's the thing. You do all of this, you throw it out there.
Yeah.
Nothing
Well, I even
happens.
say to my kids, I'm like, did you see that? Yeah. I said, well, then like it or comment or
I've got
something.
one kid who is so good. I don't even know if she pays attention to what I put out there. Everything
Aw.
gets a like. It gets a like. It gets a like.
My kids batch it once in a while. They just all of a sudden go, oh,
boom, boom, boom,
okay.
boom.
I mean, they watch my stories. They love my stories, and especially my daughter who's out in North Carolina. It's nice for her because she can kind of follow this whole journey that we've been going on and see what mom's been working on for projects. So,
Yeah. That's really cool.
Yeah. So when I do stories, it's like, I think some people think I'm just doing it for them, but no, it's also for family, that's following this journey or whatever. My daughter Abby's friends, they've loved watching the progression, and then they come over and they go, wow, Mrs. Brummel, this is better than on your stories.
Yeah,
And
that's cool.
yeah, it is.
That's
It
cool.
is.
How do people find you? I might as well let you give that up.
Oh, well, I do have a website, which I'm not real good at updating, but I have a website, which is midliferevival.com. I am on Facebook as Midlife Revival, Instagram as Midlife Revival. I do have a Pinterest. I should get better at that. Apparently that's like Google for home decor and everything else. I need to work on that. But yeah. And
I'll
I
put links in the show notes too if people
great.
want to dig into that.
Great.
So I want to talk about this process. So you've got, people coming to you. Maybe they've got their own stuff.
Yeah.
But I know that there's this mental process. Like let's say you're going out. Do you go out and find your own stuff?
Oh, yes.
Okay, so you're doing that. So you're
I
going
have
around,
a bad
you're finding
habit
it.
of that.
How do you, as you're walking through a place, whether it's flea market, or garage sale, I don't know where else you go, antique places, what's going through your mind as you assess, is this piece something that I can do something with, something that I should just leave here?
Well, I have a certain style of furniture that I like. There's a lot of people who are really into the mid-century. I lived the mid-century. So for me, that's
not
really
your
not
thing.
my thing. I love more the early 1900s or even older. I'm not a huge Victorian, but I do like the dressers and, stuff from this early 1900s. But yeah, I have a problem with Facebook Marketplace.
Oh, Facebook Marketplace. I always forget about that one.
Yeah. I love estate sales. But you have to learn to be wise with that.
What do you mean?
Because the prices can be really high on the first day. So I've tried to educate people on this, that Estate sales, normally it's a 2-day or a 3-day thing. So the first day will be full price. The second day will be maybe 30% off. And then the third day will be 50%. Or if it's only a 2-day, they go to 50%, like after 12 o'clock in the afternoon on the second day. If it's something that you could live without, but you're like, oh, I would like that, I will go check it out on the first day, see what the price is. If it's like, okay, that's a little too much and I can walk away if it's not there the next day, I'll do it. But I have gotten a lot of things by just coming back the second day.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And some of the estate companies will even have what they call like a silent auction thing where they'll have a box there. And as long as you do half of the price plus $1, they'll call you. So like, yeah, I've done that where I just do half of the price and I add $1 to it or $2. And I've gotten a lot of calls back on that. And then you don't really have to come back immediately the next day right away to see if it's there. They just call you and say at the end of the first day or second day, hey, your bid was the highest. If you like it, you can come anytime on this day before this time or whatever.
So that's pretty smart.
I do like that.
When you look at a piece, what are you assessing? To make sure that
first of all, you got to give it the smell test.
Oh, tell me about the smell test.
Okay.
I'm very intrigued.
So if it's got
Smells like
smoke.
Okay.
Well, yeah, all of them are going to smell like grandma probably. The smoke is going to be the bad one. So even with Facebook Marketplace, I always ask, if this is available, is it from a smoke-free home?
Okay.
Because
so let's say you arrive at the Facebook Marketplace meetup site and you give it a good sniff and I don't care what you told me, this stinks. You just tell them it stinks or you just say it's not for me. You're probably nice about it.
I try to be.
All right.
But the smoke I'll definitely walk away from.
Yeah,
if it's
so
just
that you can't deal with very well.
Oh, yeah. Well, there are ways, but you're not guaranteed. Okay, you can try like a good vinegar cleaning. You can use the bin shellac spray to try to seal in those odors. But
unless it's
I'm not
an amazing piece that you really hope you can.
I learned after one piece. And the thing is, I don't even remember where I got it from. It was just this tiny little secretary desk where it would fold down, but it was just a small desk. And I was working in my garage, and so it basically always sat in my garage. I never smelled anything, but I cleaned it with the vinegar water and, all that. And the gal who bought it, a few days later, she calls me. She had put it in her kitchen kind of as a little like station for her kids' school papers and all that. And she's like, I'm smelling smoke. And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
So I had her bring it back, and I ended up, again, I never smelled it in the garage. It took going into the house. Yeah. And so we did the spray shellac because I had not used that.
And that worked?
And it did. Yeah, it did. She took it back and then no problem. So now just even this musty grandma smell, after I've given everything a really good cleaning, I will seal all my pieces under the drawers, inside the drawers, on the back, underneath everything with that bin shellac.
Okay. All right.
Spray just to seal in if there is still any odors, because normally I can't smell anything anymore, so it might just come later.
I know. Yeah. I can smell certain things. I have discovered, this is neither here nor there, but I can't smell skunk. Of all things. Like we could run over one.
No.
And the kids are it has no effect on me. It's like a superpower. I'm convinced if there's ever any situation where somebody needs to go into that building, but it's full of skunk smell, how are we going to get the children out? I'm your guy. I can do it.
Guy.
So stink smell, or you don't want anything to do with stink. What other things are you looking at?
I would look at repairs. Drawers can be a little tricky. It just depends on what your capability, skill level on, repairs. If it's peeling veneer, I'm not afraid of that anymore. I used to be, but it's pretty pretty easy if it's just a top with some peeling veneer.
To get it glued back down?
Well, you
Or do
can
you get
try
new
that,
veneer?
or it's amazing sometimes the beautiful wood that's actually underneath that veneer. So I've done both. It just depends on how bad. I had this one armoire once where the veneer, it was just on the top, but the veneer, it just all peeled off. That was probably the easiest.
All right.
But then I've had some other like dressers that clients have brought, and I've had to use like the hot iron and wet towel technique and do it that way. But gorgeous wood underneath, so
That's really fun.
yeah, that's fun.
It's like when you strip something that was painted
Yeah.
and you realize,
Yeah.
I don't understand why this
Yeah.
is painted.
And
That's
it's nice
amazing.
to be able to keep some part of it as the original wood if you can.
Yeah.
So, do that kind of the two-tone they call it, but just the stained top with the painted. But yeah.
All right.
So I would say the smell and just what kind of repairs.
All right. So what about, now you mentioned some of it. I mean, where do you go? You find these things at estate sales, Facebook Marketplace.
I'm not a big garage sale, but some people get them at garage sales. And then I would say, trying to think, that's about it. Thrift stores, but thrift stores have gotten hold of the idea that you're going to pay huge amount for a very old dresser just because they know that people
Will buy
them and flip them and stuff. And with that, a thrift store, they'll have where if it's been there for a month, they'll mark it down a little bit. If it's been there for 2 months, it gets marked down some more. I haven't bought too many things at thrift stores. I know there's other furniture refinishers that do. Again, I think my favorites is an estate sale because in that respect, especially if you go into a home an older couple or whatever person around here, and it's just been well maintained all these years versus a thrift store or you don't know if it's been sitting in a barn or what, so yeah.
No, that's really cool.
Yeah.
Obviously I've got an idea where you're at on this, but the whole, have you run into issues with, every time we talk about this on the radio show, talk about, finishing furniture, refinishing furniture. Honestly, it comes up big time when we talk about kitchen cabinets. There's two camps. There's one camp that is all about painting over wood. And there's another camp that is absolutely cannot believe that anybody would paint over wood. You're getting these, vintage pieces, antique pieces. Some of them are all wood. Sounds like you're painting over them. I mean, if you're hitting them with bin, it's a white pigmented shellac, or are you using
I use the clear. Well, it depends. Usually I'll do the clear because I love a little distressing. I love to see a little of the natural wood coming through. Then I'll do the clear.
Okay.
Yeah, so
you do, how do you feel about that whole thing? Do you run into issues where people are just...
I personally, because I'm not a huge account, I have not run into that a whole lot, but I know there are some that are like that, but...
So you personally,
I have
you
not.
Don't care either way.
I thought you meant have I had like nasty
one.
comments.
You
or
haven't
anything.
had nasty comments,
no.
so now I'm curious how you feel about that process.
How I feel. It depends on how the piece comes to me, or I find it. If it's something that it absolutely could be like fully restored, like it's gorgeous wood, all that, I'm all for trying to just restain it or leave it as a very light, just take the old finish off and seal it. That became quite a trend for a while. I think people are kind of getting away from that, but it still is. But the problem is that a lot of these old pieces that I like from the early 1900s all have this veneer covering them. And then the other thing, and it can be chipping or peeling. And that's where, if you're going to just repair where the veneer has chipped off or whatever, you're going to use like a Bondo or something you're going to have to paint.
Right.
That's why it's nice to save a top, maybe, if you can.
So you've got some of the original.
Yeah. But I lost my train of thought here.
Sometimes I've never had a train of thought. I just talk. No, I get that. So like,
Yeah.
so when we would talk to people, one of
Yeah.
the things I would always try to say is not so much with the cabinets, but with the furniture aspect of things is, what are you going to do? Is it getting used?
Right.
In your attic, you can't
Right.
use it because I've talked to plenty of people who that style, whatever that is, it doesn't fit with what I've got.
Right. Right.
And if it's not having any use at all, what kind of life is it leading at this
Right,
point? But if you put some
exactly.
paint on it
Yeah.
and now can
Well,
bring it in,
yeah.
that's 10 times more
I
valuable.
feel like, I don't know the whole history of painted furniture, but I know it goes back to, this, I think the 1700s, or whatever, because you look at like colonial times, there was painted
I'm pretty sure the
furniture.
cavemen painted their rocks.
Okay.
From time
Yeah,
to time.
yeah.
So it goes all the way back to when
It goes way
paint
back.
existed.
It's not like, we're doing something that wasn't done before. That shaker style, there was a lot of them where, even if you went to the store, they were painted, I think some of our first furniture that we bought for a basement family room, was a place in Grand Rapids, and they were like, okay, pick your top finish, which usually was a stain, and pick your painted lower. So, this was back in the 80s,
Right.
so
It's been going on.
it's been going on. So again, it's more, if the piece, this may sound crazy, but if the piece will speak to you and it will pretty much tell you how it wants to be sometimes. Like I may have had a vision that I have spent hours like stripping or sanding off an old finish thinking I'm going to totally leave this natural or just restain it. And the piece tells me differently. And I'm like, I have to paint it or at least part of it, So
That's really
yeah,
interesting.
yeah.
I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
It just kind of lets you know where it's got to go.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
you gotta just kinda adapt to that.
I just feel like, whatever fits your style in your house. And like I've had clients who will be like, well, I don't have any painted furniture in my house. And I'm like, you've got to have something painted. I don't know how no one can have anything painted in their house. But anyways, it's
always
a taste,
interesting to me because we do run into people who have very serious opinions about this.
Yeah.
So right now, your biggest thing that you're working on is this renovation. You talked about it.
Yes.
Your daughter's 1920s
1920,
farmhouse, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
What's that whole experience been like?
It's been challenging, but it has been fun. It has been a great bonding experice. Not only
She's working with you side by side?
Yeah, well, she was.
Or you were just going to say,
No.
not only...
It's been a great bonding experience. This is our youngest daughter. She had been looking for a house for several months and everything was falling through. Everything was like really small and you were going to pay really big bucks for it. And so, cash speaks louder than getting a mortgage. And, but it all worked out good because this house was really outside of her financial capability to purchase, but it had more space and it gave Mom a workshop so I could get out of my garage.
So a literal workshop. Like
I have a separate workshop in the back. Yes. And so we just kind of, I was just paying her rent. So anyways.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it is. And then it's a 2-story. So it allows our daughter and son-in-law and grandson who live in North Carolina to have a place to stay when they visit. When they visit. Because, she doesn't need the whole house right now. But it just, like I said, it just made sense based on what she was looking at and what she was going to pay for and on these tiny little lots. And this has 2 acres, about 2 acres.
Okay.
And
did it need a lot of work?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, a lot of work.
Yeah. It was definitely one of those that you would call the fixer-upper. Oh, yeah. It had gone into disrepair quite a bit with the last owners, and it had sat empty for, we're not quite sure how long, but at least a good year because the gentleman that passed away had been in a nursing home, and then it was just sent into a family estate thing where they sold it. But he was definitely a one who tried to just fix things himself, and you could tell the repairs, like leaking roof and stuff, and like patching the roof, and it was still just leaking in. And so we knew going into it that it needed a new roof.
Who did that? Did you hire that?
Yeah,
guy?
we hired
Didn't
that.
do that
Oh
one
yeah,
yourself.
we know our capabilities.
That's one of the best things you can know is your
Yes.
capabilities.
Yes. Well, we had started, we did this actually with another daughter. We helped her with her first home here in the Holland area. And hers was not as much of a fixer up. It was more just a cosmetic thing, but it was 1924 age, so close to the same age.
Yeah.
So the plumbing and electrical we had hired out to do, and then we did all the cosmetic stuff. And that's where I learned a lot of these projects is trial and error. She says I trialed on her.
Yeah. She
And
was
then
the guinea pig.
well, and she was the firstborn too, so I trialed on her. Yeah, exactly. So little sister had
They've got
some
the fine-tuned versions of us, but the other ones, they get the rough draft.
Yes. So, and then going into this house that we're presently been working on for over a year, I hate to say, we did hire out for the roof. We ended up getting all new electrical and plumbing in there as well. And then there was just the siding issues. So it snowballed into more things than we thought. So the interior we are almost finished with. I'm just finishing up that upstairs apartment, furnishing it, which has been a lot. You think, oh, I've got lots of furniture. I can furnish it, but then you forget all the little stuff that you need for the kitchen. It's like a efficiency apartment up there with a dishwasher and I splurged on a little vintage refrigerator for up
that's
there.
Really fun.
Yeah. So, we also have considered renting it out short term because the kids aren't home all the time. Or my daughter can use it for if she has guests that she has out of town guests that come in. We're still trying to feel that out because we want to be mindful of the neighbors. I mean, I don't think they would care. I mean, we're not like some vacation destination or anything, being that I was a nurse, we've toyed with for traveling nurses.
Oh.
Sometimes they need a month, 2 month
Sure.
stay, and they're screened really well. So our daughter lives on the first floor, so we are being very mindful of who we would rent to,
that's a little bit
yeah. The upstairs has a separate entrance, and so it's not bothering her at all. But it also could be turned right back into just a full home. It is not like it's being divided into a two unit
So you're kind of just hanging on, debating where you're going to go with that.
Yeah, and if she gets married and has a family,
that changes that.
she can but it opens up. It goes right back. She can just take it and. The entry that we use to go upstairs is like a mud room, and it can become her entry into her house as well. So,
cool.
yeah.
So you're pretty much done with the interior stuff? What kind of, I know you did a porch. That was all over your page. Recently.
Yes.
What other, bigger projects? What'd you do in the kitchen, let's say?
Well, I have refinished, I should say, refinished the cabinets in her kitchen. She had like 1980s oak cabinets in there, and I started out, this was a learning. She wanted them to be black, the cabinets, and so we started out with Benmore Advance because I love the Advance product.
Why do you love Advance? You might as well get that up there a minute.
Very durable. I actually used it for the first time in my other daughter's house, but hers were just like a lighter off-white color. But the problem was that Advance only has the higher sheen which I need to talk to them about that. I would like a lower sheen again. So the black just
It was too much.
Oh, it was too much.
They've got a satin sheen and
they have a satin, but
it
satin
doesn't
was
go
too much.
right.
So I went into the store, talked to them. I should back it up. I did have someone hired out to do all my wall painting and spray all the trim because I learned from doing my other daughter's house that it was better that I just pay someone than because I don't have a great sprayer, and so it was just so time consuming. So anyways, he was using Scuffex, Benjamin Moore Scuffex, for all the trim. And so I went into the store and I said, what about Scuffex for the cabinets? And that came in a matte finish, and that was perfect. And so, yeah, I have another favorite now. So we went with that as the second option and then I ended up just using that for the upstairs apartment, which those cabinets were, you purchase them and you put them together, which I'm not sure if I'll ever do again.
Yeah.
But painted those in a really deep green. Love it. But yeah.
Really fun.
Yeah, just cabinets and just
lots of projects.
Lots of things.
Stuff. What was the biggest, the biggest challenge in all of that?
Money, probably.
Yeah, making it work, right? Trying to hire the people that you want to hire to do this, but then save the money to do.
Well, we wanted to try to preserve as much of the house's character as possible. And fortunately, it did have all of the original woodwork. Unfortunately, it had been painted prior. So I would say that was one of the bigger challenges, was preserving that, but having to repaint it. You have to, some of the areas we had to remove the trim. So then you have nails to pull out and patch that. But then
the lead-based paint or anything, or
you know what?
do you not even think about it? Let's just not think about it.
Yeah. Well, nothing was like chipping and stuff, and so, I don't think the paint that was on the top was, because I think that's 1970s or earlier, right? And this was 70s. Probably more like an 80s type renovation.
It was encapsulated then.
It was.
You didn't have chipping and dust.
No, and then I have a HEPA filter type sanding system that I use to do the scuff sanding with. So, of course, then that, and no one was living in the house either. And then we did use the bin shellac white primer to encapsulate everything as well afterwards, which I did do that part, and then he painted them.
You got the primer done, and then he did that.
Yeah, because he suggested that I roll it on just to make sure it really made good contact with everything. So that's what we did. So that would have been one of the biggest challenges too, was just all the trim work, trying to preserve it, keep it. Whereas now I know why a lot of HGTV shows are they just rip everything out, because it's so much easier just to start all new than to try to redo everything in there.
Are you happy you did, though?
Really 100.
Really cool.
Yeah, and we really repurposed a lot of other stuff that we had to pull out, because we actually put an addition on the upstairs, bumped up the ceiling because it had like a slanted ceiling. Mm-hmm. So we were able to preserve or save rafters that were a cool wood feature.
Really cool.
Just a lot of things. So yeah, it was fun. Because money was an issue, it's just kind of fun to how you can recycle.
Ever not an issue?
No, I don't. Not
I'm
for
trying
most
to think.
people.
No, I can't imagine a thing I've ever done. Every time I do anything,
yeah,
in the grocery store in Monday.
Oh, that's awful. Yeah. I know. You want to starve.
Yeah. I've got a ways to go. I can just live off that.
It's a good
for a
way
while.
to have a diet.
Yeah. So if you're talking to anybody, you're talking to a bunch of people who tackle things like this or have been afraid to tackle things like that. That's a major undertaking, what you jumped into. What would you tell them? Would you say it's worth it, or would you say hire it done or find another place? Mm-hmm. What would you say?
We're all made differently. I know we have our friends, they didn't say a whole lot, but you could just read their faces like...
They would never have done this.
No. No, they wouldn't.
Thought you were nuts.
I still think some of them think we're nuts, but I don't know. My husband and I, yeah, we're crazy, I guess, but we enjoy doing this for our kids. So, I don't know. It's
What
like,
did I mean, like the so you work your normal day or do whatever.
yeah.
I don't know how your day worked.
I became like my job to like manage all the subs and stuff. We did have a contractor who helped guide us through it, which we definitely needed for this. It was kind of necessary for pulling permits and all that. But as far as everything else, like I was the one who was on the job site monitoring, what was happening. If the subs had questions, I wasn't far away, like I'd be in my workshop or whatever. So I was the one who was doing all the checking in and stuff, which is,
somebody's got to be.
Yeah, it's a full time. But then, just helping make all those design decisions and then starting as soon as like drywall and stuff got done after all the electrical and plumbing was done.
Did you guys do that or did you hire?
No, we hired that out too. We didn't have all we just needed certain areas either patched or skim coated, or upstairs needed a lot of new drywall. But after that, then that was the beginning of 2024. We just really started just getting in there and doing a lot of it ourselves after that. And that's where the time, because everyone was like, yeah, it's going really fast. I'm like, yeah, it is. And then all of a sudden we hit to where we're doing it all.
Yeah.
And so then it's my husband on weekends and evenings,
that's
and
what
me.
I was gonna say.
But me there all day. Like I repaired a floor upstairs, patching it. And so
Just jumping into one thing after another.
one after another. So as far as, we're all made different. So I would just say, I mean, it definitely gives you that satisfaction that you did it, but you have to know your limits.
Well, and that's what it seemed you guys did really well with, from what you're talking about. You didn't jump into projects that you knew were too big. You budgeted the money to go to cover those things, and you tackle the things you can do.
Yeah.
Really, depends on the people, but for me, I know it would have been smart in the time I did it with the drywall. It would have been better for me to hire that drywall done.
Yeah.
I did it. I learned how to do it.
Yeah.
I got through it. I was never thrilled with the results because I
well,
hadn't done it before. And I've talked to other people who let me realize that the price of having it done was not near what I had anticipated it to be.
Yeah, you have to pick and choose. And again, we trialed a lot of things on our first daughter's house, and
so nice.
We learned what we could and could not do. But what's also been great is it has given us connections to a lot of good tradespeople. And I guess, if someone was going to do something like this, I say, go for it. But again, find what you want to work on and what would be best to hire out. But there are also people who don't even want to pick out their finishes or anything. And that is what I love to do.
You enjoyed that?
Oh, yes. I should have gone to school for interior decorating design and stuff because I absolutely love that. But I can just be like a Joanna Gaines who didn't go to interior design school either, and look at her now. Yeah. So, but anyways, if someone wanted to hire me to help with that process, I would definitely be all over that. In fact, the contractor that we worked with, he had me come in and help with a couple. He does mostly remodeling projects, and he had a client who was like, I can't pick paint colors even. And so I went in to her house and helped her with that. So
that's the thing. If you're in that boat, you're hiring, you're looking at a big project like that. There are lots of people, We've got contact with painters.
Yep.
We've got people that can help with color.
I know.
You can help with color. I mean, there's all kinds of people out there who do exactly what you need done and can do it well. It's worth that conversation.
Right. And sometimes you just need that guidance and stuff, just a consultation or whatever.
Right.
And
just feel confident in what you're doing.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why everything has just evolved from one thing to another. So, yeah.
So I'm curious about, you talked about, we've all heard about midlife crises and stuff like that, midlife revival, you've got all of that. You're also talking to people who have to be thinking, I think 3 years ago, I think I hit my midlife crisis. Did a lot of things that I decided I'm going to try to do this. I'm going to learn how to do that. I'm going to figure out how to ride a motorcycle and ride horses and things like that. Why? I don't know. Probably because I'm old and I've got this crisis that I'm going on and dealing with. You started something brand new. I mean, not just a new little hobby. Jumped into an entire new career at that point in your life. I mean, that's got to give other people encouragement that there's really no point where it's too late to jump into something. What do you think of that?
Oh, absolutely. It's never too late to learn something new or, set new goals and stuff. And yeah, while a lot of people our age might be looking at retiring and traveling more, that's just not what me and my husband enjoy doing. We really love working on projects together to a certain degree. Okay. To a certain degree. Well,
so you got you nuts after a while?
We both can be kind of like want our way and stuff, but I'm the one who has been designing all along. Okay, I'll take your input and I'll think about it.
That's really nice.
But anyways, Joanna Gaines, they do that. She does that
okay.
with hers too. Anyways, but yeah. So I definitely feel like you're never too old to start something new, as I'm definitely proof of that. And yeah, I mean, you always want to learn, So whether someone's like, I'd just like to refinish a piece of furniture or something. I have offered a couple of classes in the past. I would love to do that again. I just don't have really the space for it. Or I definitely would even work one-on-one with someone if they wanted to. That might be a better option. But that's again why the social media, if someone's following me on stories, I try to, highlight the products I'm using and, the steps. And sometimes I feel like I'm just repeating all the time, but you just never know. You've got new people who are following or watching, and you just don't know if they saw them before. Right. So it always...
Now, they always need to be reminded, I feel like I've talked about painting kitchen cabinets, 400,000 times.
But I didn't catch it all those times. Right. I've only been following you for the last year on that. So,
and people just don't realize. It seems like it's old hat to us. It's been said 100 times.
But I know.
Or sometimes you hear it, but it doesn't even register because I'm not thinking about it.
Right.
When all of a sudden now I'm thinking about it, now's when I need to hear that.
Yep.
So if people can, you gave out your stuff, your where they can find you. Why don't you do that one more time before we wrap it all up? If they want to follow you and locate you.
If they're following on social media, if they are on the social media platforms, I'm on Facebook, Midlife Revival, as well as Instagram, Midlife Revival. But I also have a website that, kind of goes through my background of where this all started and my services that I offer. And that's midliferevival.com.
All right. I'll put links to all of that in the show notes. Thanks for hanging out.
Yeah. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate this opportunity.
Absolutely. It was a lot of fun. Thanks so much for watching, and be sure to check out Patty's work on her Facebook and her Instagram pages. And if you're thinking about, jumping into a project on your own, remember all of us at RepcoLite, we're waiting and ready to help you figure out exactly what you need to know so you can pull it off with great professional results. We want to help you bring your vision to life, so just stop out at the nearest RepcoLite location. Tell us what you're working on. Start that conversation. We'll help you out. All right, if you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. It really helps us out. And if you're new here, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and then ring that little bell so you'll be notified whenever we post new content. We'd also love to hear from you in the comments, so leave your thoughts below, your questions below, and maybe we'll feature them, in an upcoming episode. All right, thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time.